Who's ready for a second season of Final Fantasy 15 DLC? Apparently a lot of you, because someone at Square Enix decided that the game did no less than 9 additional episodes of story content. Honestly, I was expecting to do a normal review of the Royal Pack, a piece of DLC that launched alongside the Royal Edition, but it turns out that it's actually barely enough content to review. I should start by saying the Royal Pack costs about the same as the Comrades expansion, which in turn is 3 times the price of a single character episode. The thing is, where all the previous Season Pass content added a new playable character and unique mechanics, locations, enemies, and story, the Royal Pack, I can say with almost 100% certainty, is just a couple patches stapled together and sold at a premium. I've had mixed feelings about Final Fantasy XV's DLC overall, but one thing I could say before was that it was a good value. The DLC episodes were cheap and added a fair bit. They were unpolished but ambitious. The Comrades DLC justified its higher price by having a lot of content and a cool variation on the normal combat system, not to mention the promise of free updates to expand on it further. I can't honestly say that anything in the Royal Pack is something that you should be paying for, and I'm gonna explain why, so spoilers ahead. First off, the supplementary content in this pack is just very low budget. There are some side quests added to the Insomnia Ruins, but it all comes down to copy and pasted enemy gauntlets and borderline insultingly menial tasks, like there's one where you have to collect 10 objects that are marked on the map. They also add some time trials for the off-road variant of your car, and the ability to make proper use of the boat that you briefly used during the main story. The Insomnia Ruins were expanded with this DLC, but functionally all it means is a bigger space. Besides some new cutscenes, the only thing this adds to the map is a new pre-final boss, Cerberus, and a really boring and tedious super boss, Omega. You can probably already see a trend in how supplementary this content is, but where it gets really obvious is the Armiger Unleashed and the new trio of bosses, the Rulers of Yore. Up until now, there was no reward in the game for collecting all of Noctis' royal arms hidden throughout the world. This DLC allows you to get an accessory that upgrades your Armiger into a fun new combat system that honestly plays about how I think people expected the game to play. It's a shame you can't get this upgrade until very late in the game. Then there's the Rulers of Yore. These 3 new enemies precede the final battle with Arden. That in itself is nothing special, but each fight ends with a sequence involving one of Noctis' party members. They use their specific techniques and beat the boss while talking about what they learned on their journey. These are effectively conclusions to these characters who are with you from the start, and the only way to get that is through this DLC. And that's literally it, there's not much else to say. Despite costing significantly more than the average DLC episode, it adds a fraction of the content. And while there's an argument to be made about whether or not the previous DLC should have been included in the base game, as far as I'm concerned with the Royal Pack is beyond a shadow of a doubt. Whether this is true or not, it feels like they simply took some patches and decided to charge for them. And the way this supplements the story really adds to that feeling, making it feel like it's not a really meaningful piece of content. I haven't even touched on the fact that the DLC inserts a handful of cutscenes throughout the rest of the game, including bits of foreshadowing towards plot points like Prompto being a clone, which is outright absent from the base game. It's just such a shame to see the game carry on like this. I feel like all but the most starry-eyed optimists are starting to have their doubts about this bizarre and increasingly pricey model that Square Enix has devised for this game. As far as I'm concerned, each time they release more content for this game, it only draws more attention to the sorry state they allowed this game to be released in.